Well, hi there, and welcome to Jump to It here on IrishRacing.com. It is Derby Day. What a day in the racing calendar this is. Really looking forward to this one. And someone who's definitely looking forward to it is Stephen Harris. So I'd like to bring in now Stephen, as I've mentioned, Derby Day, a terrific occasion. Obviously, we got the Jubilee as well. Hopefully, the showers pass through in the morning. It's going to be 18 degrees and sun. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a wonderful atmosphere. It's one of those must-do days in the racing calendar, if not the calendar of society, one may add.
Yeah, it's a brilliant day's racing, isn't it? Something to look forward to. I mean, the weather forecast for the Oaks on Friday, which is just now we're recording, it's a lovely sunny day. It's going to be about 20 degrees, so things are going to dry out. It'll probably be good ground by the end of the day on Friday. So for Saturday, Andrew Cooper this morning, an excellent clerk, of course, keeps everybody informed. He says there's about 10 different forecasts from the Met Office. It depends which one you believe. But the latest one is there is going to be rain, but hopefully it's clearing through for most of the afternoon. So rain in the morning perhaps, and rain later on. But I don't think it's going to be any worse than good to soft dead. Obviously, we end up looking idiots, don't we? Because we end up talking about sort of good ground, and it turns out to be heavy, and everyone on YouTube goes absolutely bananas. But it does look, I think we've got to assume that it's going to be a sort of good to soft Derby day. Perhaps, hopefully, they'll miss the worst of the weather. They've sold every ticket, which in these sort of straitened times is really good news. I think they've sold 36,000 tickets for Tats. It's a sellout. Obviously, they'll be piling into the centre of the course, and it's a real occasion. But no, really looking forward to it. It has to be said, Ed, we're coming on to this, but it's a very, very hard card. You can't pretend it's got a fantastic shape for punters.
It looks very tricky, doesn't it? Very, very tricky, I think it's fair to say. But good point you mentioned about the ground. Obviously, we're filming this in advance. The ground is an unknown. I think it's fair to say, playing the percentages, extremes are probably out of the window here. I don't think we're going to get good to firm. I think it's fair to say we're not going to get your rattling quick Epsom ground. Last year, of course, we got a bit of rain late doors, didn't we? Before the Oaks, when snowfall galloped through the mud, and then it was enough juice in the ground by Derby Day for Adiyar. So look, all in all, you know what you're doing in regards to punting at home and the ground, but we're working on a basis of good to soft, all there or thereabouts with our selections. But as you say, should be a terrific day. Finally, when was the last time you attended the Derby in person, Stephen?
I don't think I've ever been on Derby Day. I've been to about five or
No,
six
wow,
Oaks, and the last time I went,
right,
used to love Oaks Day, was when
yeah,
the late Henry Cecil trained the winner. I think it was in 2007, and that was a fantastic. That was genuinely a
oh
sort
yeah.
of goosebumps day, because obviously Henry had been very ill. He'd sort of recovered a little bit as a sort of a lap, and for him to train that winner in 2007 was absolutely fantastic. So I do love Oaks Day. Derby Day is a bit too busy for me. I think you've got to be 20 and have hollow legs really on Derby Day to get through it. It goes on till 6 o'clock. I mean, we were just
Oh,
chatting off air, weren't we? There's a 5. I'm not sure we need a 5:50 on Derby Day, to be honest. I can imagine the local constabulary would be very busy by about 6 o'clock.
yeah, they will be on guard. Put it that way. No, you're right. Light Shift, 2007. The Oaks
That's
winner
it.
there
Yeah.
for Sir Henry Cecil. Great memories. Pour Moi was my last time I was actually there for Derby Day on track with
Ah.
Mikael Barcelona celebrating 50 yards from the line. I thought we had one of those faken and wrong winning post incidents again.
Yeah.
Like jokes
Well,
aside there, but yeah,
he definitely did.
that was
He
crazy.
definitely did mistake the post, didn't he? Because
Do you
it
think?
wasn't
Yeah,
actually on the line. It was about 5. I think there was like a thing
yeah,
5 yards. I mean, he's very lucky he didn't fall off. Apart from, I mean, for all the tracks to do it, I mean, you're on a sort of camber at about 75
yeah.
degrees, aren't you? He's standing up in the irons like Andrew Thornton. I mean, unbelievable. That was amazing. There's the best ever photo of that, Ed, isn't there? Where it's a tight finish and he's standing up, sort
Yeah.
of waving. Is
He's
that
just standing up. Yeah.
unbelievable? Yeah. Yeah,
Whip in the
brilliant.
air, waving at the crowd. Yeah, no, crazy days, crazy days. Summer of 2011, that was. Right, without further ado, let's get on to the race card in Epsom. Right, Stephen Harris mentioned this possibly is a very tricky day for the punters. Well, let's try and unravel this equine Rubik's Cube then. Kicking off with the 2 o'clock, the Kazoo handicap over the 10 furlongs. Stephen's favourite number, 15 horses due to go to post in this handicap here. You've got Mr. Big Stuffer Blue Trail vying for favouritism, around 5 to 1. Warhorse 8. And then you're on to Norton Cross, box to box, 9-1 or bigger. Stephen Harris, this looks pretty tricky in my view.
Yeah, as you say, 15 runners. I mean, you can't believe it, can you? Can you imagine how many punters here are genuinely quite upsetting? If it was 16, things are massively in your favour. They've got to get to 400% in the placebook with 16 runners, and they're nowhere near it. But 15 runners, you've got to play win only, Ed, unless you can find a friendly bookmaker. I really like Richard Spencer's Mr. Big Stuff here. He was a massive eye catcher last season at Nottingham on soft ground when he was 100-1. Pulling hard in rear and shaping really well, which, by the way, is a big plus. If they do get rain and it does become good to soft or softer, that is a huge positive for Mr. Big Stuff. He'll definitely handle it. And going through 3/4 of this lot, I don't think they will handle soft ground. So that would be a big positive to his chance. The other positives, he's been quite well back going into handicaps. He ran an absolute screamer at Newbury last time under Holly Doyle. Holly Doyle, we absolutely love her, don't we, on this podcast? She never makes a mistake. It was a very rare poor ride on Mr. Big Stuff. She got in a bad position in his run, got repeatedly checked at the wrong time. Not her fault, but there we go. That's strong form behind Isra. Richard Spencer's put Tyler Hurd on it. He's a very promising claimer. Takes off a very handy £5. Now, he is drawn in the car park, but he's a hold-up ride who needs to settle, so it won't matter. I don't mind them coming from miles off the pace at Epsom if it gets a bit of cut in the ground. It can be difficult on fast ground, but Mr. Big Stuff, I thought, hopefully tomorrow you'll get 6 or 7-1, play win only. I think he has to go close with any luck in running. Now, that is, with any luck in running, applies at Epsom more than any other race course in the country, doesn't it? It's well, maybe Goodwood. Goodwood's another place where you back things and they get absolutely murdered, don't they? But Epsom really is rolling around on the camber, trying to come from off the pace. It can be very messy. So hopefully, I'm hoping Tyler Hurd will ride him almost like a non-try, parked out the back. Let them get on with it, and he'll be flying home. Hopefully, he'll go really close.
Yeah, interesting. Good case made there for Stephen's selection. Mr. Big Stuff, tentative pick. I was with Blue Trail. I just thought interesting this Teofilo colt going up in trip to 10 furlongs for the first time. Thought it looked a little bit outpaced over a mile in a hot race last time out. Probably wouldn't want the ground to get too soft though, so that's something to bear in mind with that. As Stephen says, the big asterisks of weather and even bigger asterisks of luck in running, I think is that both of those apply in equal measure to Epsom on Saturday. On to the 235, the aptly named Princess Elizabeth Stakes. Fillies and mares in Group 3 action here. 10 runners due to go to post over the extended mile. Chiefly Park on paper, Stephen, have a very strong hand here. Are you with Bashkirova or Potapova, or are you looking elsewhere for some value?
Well, William Haggis, absolutely flying Ed, trains the favourite here, Bashikova. 10 winners from his last 40 runners at 25%. That's actually dipped down. He was nudging 40% a couple of weeks ago, but that's an amazing strike rate. Ran perfectly well at Goodwood when finishing second. I didn't think there were any huge excuses, and whether that form with Mrs. Fitzherbert is absolutely fantastic is another question. I thought the value might lie with Roman Mist here, who comes from a yard, Tom Ward, who I really like. He's had a winner in the last week. He's got some nice young horses. And she did really well to win at Kempton last time out. It was a little listed race. The form's probably only modest, but she showed a really good attitude. I like the fact she came up the inside, which is very difficult to do at Kempton. It tends to be better to come wider there on the all-weather. She should run really well. She's got a bit of form on soft ground if it gets testing. I don't think she'd want a swamp, but I don't think we're going to get that unless they really do get a deluge in the morning on Derby Day. So I've assumed on sort of good to soft ground she'll be fine. I think she's 7-1. She's probably going to be 10-1 on the exchanges. It's a very trappy race. What did you fancy? I didn't have a strong opinion.
Yeah, no, same here. I was going to last chance saloon with Potapova, I thought, with Ryan Moore in the saddle for Sir Michael Stout. I know it's a long time ago and it's all relative, but last year was about this time last year, wasn't it, when she won that Red Car Maiden? I know it's a Red Car Maiden, but I mean, crikey, you don't want to see the manner in which she went through that. They threw her in at the deep end in the Coronation Stakes on her next start on the back of that performance, and things haven't quite worked out for her since. But your aforementioned Roman Mist there, Stephen, obviously saw off Potapova by a head, but I thought Potapova was a bit unlucky. She kind of blew the start slowly into stride, and she was gaining at the finish. An extended mile here with a bit of cut in the ground. I thought it's no excuses day for Potapova, shall we say. So I think I rolled in the dice one last time there with our paper what is technically the Cheveley Park first string if Jockey Silks are anything to go by. But as you say, this is a fiercely competitive event. On to the 310 at the Kazoo Diomed Stakes here. Another extended mile assignment here. 3-year-olds and +4 this Group 3 action. Just the 6 going to post here. Now, Modern News. It's been on the drift throughout the week. Opened up around 8 to 11. Now 11 to 10 against at the time of recording across the board. In my view, I'm starting to look a fair price for this horse arriving here on a hat trick. Clearly in fine fettle at the moment. Mutasabek 3 to 1, Magallan 13 to 2, Finest Sound 8, Saluski 12, Escobar 14s. Are you with me on the jolly here, Stephen, or do you think there's value to be had elsewhere?
Well, a rare difference of opinion, Jeffrey. I disagree with you here. I think there's two big negatives for Modern News. Well, not negatives, but concerns at a short price. I wasn't impressed at all at Windsor. I thought he made quite hard work of a very simple task. And I don't think he's ever really run on soft ground. Again, we're guessing. But he's disappointed twice when there's been any kind of cut in it. And that would be a concern at Epsom at a short price. I do think that Mutasabek at around 3 to 1, 11 to 4 is the one you've got to back. The two of them look clear on ratings to me. I couldn't have Escobar. He's a handicap. I'd be surprised if he was good enough. I thought Mutasabek was the one subbing. In the Bet365 mile at Sandown last time, it was a bit of a messy race. Alcohol Free needed the run and raced in the car park throughout and didn't settle and was a shade disappointing. But Mutasabek didn't get a clear run. He was longest on the bridle and travelling best about 2 out, and he was pocketed in and he took a long time to get out. He wasn't an unlucky loser, but I think he probably went like the best horse on the day if circumstances had been different. I think that's fairly good form, and he's run on soft ground and handled it and won well on it twice in his career. So if it does get soft, I think that's a big plus. I thought 3 to 1 was marginal value, but again, it's a very trappy race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, funny you should say about racing. Officially, the best horse in the field is Magallan for the Datorian Gosden team. Now, easy to see that one being backed with the Saturday Frankie factor. However, it was just a lifeless display, I thought, in the Huxley Stakes last time out, beating a dozen lengths when sent off odds on favourite. So definitely question marks about that one. Yeah, difference of opinion here will be interesting. Modern News keeps drifting. I might go in again. I just thought, there's a chance this horse could touch 5 to 4 here. But as you say, the ground would be a concern. We don't want to kind of bore on with the weather, but we are guessing to some extent here. We could have anything between soft and good deferment places by the time they go to post.
Yeah.
So, Mutasabek for Stephen. Modern News for myself.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right, because this is the classic thing. When we preview things like a couple of days in advance, your first thought is when you're looking at 8 to 11 Modern News, and I think that was a very short price with the ground concern and the fact he wasn't particularly impressive at Windsor. But all of a sudden, everybody thinks the same, and you might find he's 5 to 4, 6 to 4, 7 to 4. At what point does he get too big a price? And that's the difficult thing with doing things in advance. You can have a strong opinion, but if the market sort of agrees with it, you almost end up going the other way sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And if the rain misses, then who knows? Absolutely. Yeah. Right, on to the easiest race of the entire racing calendar to work out. The 3:45. It is the Epsom Dash, 5 furlongs. A bit like Stephen running to the fridge for a cold beverage. Absolutely on fire here. Turn a foot, 20 runners. Try and work this one out for us. We've got Living the Dream and, funny enough, Fine Wine as your joint favourites here around the 7 to 1 mark. But, this is a race where you could be kind of scratching your head for a very long time and not come out with anything anywhere near the winner.
Yeah, I love this race. I've never backed the winner of it or ever looked like to. But the one good thing about it, Ed, is you can definitely say you're an unlucky loser. This is a 20 runners, the fastest 5 furlongs in the world. I think they do sort of 59 seconds flying downhill. Now they won't do that probably if the rain gets in. But there's so much pace here. Fine Wine has got blistering early, but there's 5 or 6 others in the race. Any sort of error at the stalls, half a length or a length. Fine Wine, who's 6 to 1, that is a very short price. I must admit, I'd be quite inclined to lay that a place because I think you've got the potential if it gets taken on up front think it could blow out altogether. I think this is at least 10 or 12 to 1 the field. I suspect you'll find on the exchanges tomorrow it will be. 20 runners, you're going to need luck in running. I do like King of Stars
Mm,
of Mick Appleby. The negatives for this one, Mick Appleby's actually 1 from 41, most unusual. Although they've been running
yeah,
in
very odd.
competitive races, that is a slight concern. It's quite a lot of losers. I haven't really noticed them running badly in particular. King of Stars has slipped down the weights. He's been highly tried, globe trotting. He's got loads of early pace himself, but they have tried 6 before, and I'm hoping they'll ride him sort of cold with a lot more patience here and try and come through late. He really caught my eye. He showed plenty of pace in a warm listed contest last time out. He's down in class. He's got a great chance here. A bit of cut in the ground should be ideal. I think you do want at least 12 to 1. I wouldn't be taking less than 10 in this race. But as you know, this is a race. Shut your eyes. Whatever's getting murdered when it's cruising a furlong out, that'll be one of the ones you've got winning. It's one of those races. It's an absolute bookmaker benefit. And amazing that we talked a lot, haven't we, in the last few weeks about numbers of runners and not getting the decks. They've got 20 runners for this race. That it's pretty
Mm.
amazing because it's not like it's an easy race to win. And the prize money is obviously excellent. And it's Derby Day. I suppose everyone wants the free tickets to get into the owners and trainers for Derby Day. But yeah, it's not, we can't pretend it's got a friendly shape. But again, what we always say, Ed, 6 places. Look around. There'll probably be even more than 20 runners, and you probably need them as well.
Yeah, there are a couple of firms paying 6 places, maybe even 7 places at a quick glance as well.
Mm.
So Stephen rightly points out, check your each way concessions there in a race where everyone after will either absolutely had it off or will have backed the unlucky loser, and you'll be hearing about it for the rest of the afternoon. Was a tentative selection again here, as strong as you can be in a race like this. But I actually thought last year's winner had a really good chance again, Mockatil. For Ian Williams. The downside being Ian Williams has not had a winner for, I think, the best part of a month, which is a slight concern. However,
Yeah.
this horse loves it here. Obviously, won the race last year. Is up £5 from 12 months ago. But that very young, promising jockey, Harry Davis, claims the £5. Takes that weight back off. So I thought last year's been there and done it factor at a track like Epsom. I thought Mockatil could go well. Around 10 to 1. But as you say, you almost hostage your fortune coming off the pace in this. He got the split last year just at the right time. Whether he does again or not, we shall see. Right, on to the 4:30, the big one, the Kazoo Derby. Of course, this year, run in memory of the late, great Lester Piggott, who passed away last weekend at the age of 86. Fitting tribute to probably the best jockey of all time. Who's going to be the best horse in this race? Well, Stephen, Desert Crown is your best priced. Where are we going? 15 to 8 market leader here for Sir Michael Stout and Richard Kingscote. Big afternoon for Richard Kingscote, incidentally. I think it's fair to say this will be a real kind of milestone in his career, going to post on the Derby favourites. A whole host of challenges in behind, including those of Ballydoyle, Godolphin, as you would expect. And we've got a nice big field here, Stephen. 17 runners, one of the races of the year. Always is a highlight in the calendar. Desert Crown, 15 to 8, unbeaten, wipe the floor with the field in the Dante. Are you with or are you against him?
Well, I don't think you can possibly be with it, but there is a but, and I
Right.
think he'll end up being nearer 3 to 1 than 7 to 4. We said this last week, didn't we?
Mm.
That he was getting
I'm backing
towards
it
sort of
threes. Yeah.
13 to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think he's
Yeah.
one of those horses. I'll be bang against him under 2 to 1, and I'll be with him at 3 to
Yeah.
1. I think
Yeah.
that's about how you summarise it. He's run twice. He was
Mhm.
extremely impressive despite greenness at Nottingham on soft ground, which there is a big plus. Over a mile. I certainly wouldn't
Yeah.
be worried about him staying a mile 4. I don't think that's a problem at all. After he won at Nottingham, all of the lads at Stouts took 20 for the Derby. He's been a real talking horse over the winters. He's been workmanlike, but he's very, very strong at home. They've always liked him. He was relatively easy
Yeah.
to back before the Dante, and he won by a long way in the end. Now, if you stop the race 3 furlongs out, they sort of panned out across the Naves, and Desert Crown came on his own up the middle. He ended up winning by over 4 lengths in the end from a pretty exposed horse in Royal Patronage. I don't think the form's wonderful, and I don't think wide margin winners at York, generally speaking, represent fantastic value next time out somewhere else. over the years, horses can be flattered there. So that's definitely a concern for me. I think his inexperience is a negative. He's only had 2 starts. Horses who win the Derby generally have got much more experience than that. That's a possible negative. Stall 12, maybe that's a negative. There could be a lot of scrimmaging early at Epsom, particularly in a huge field. What's King's going to do? Is he going to swallow it and drop him in? Or is he going to go
Mm.
forwards from 12 and try and get an early pitch? So he's got a dilemma for a jockey who hasn't ridden a million Group 1 winners. It has to be. So he's a very good jockey, Richard Kingscote,
Mm.
but this is a pressure cooker, isn't it? There's going to be a million
Yeah.
people there. He's an inexperienced horse. I don't think there's any margin for error. There's no way in the world he can be 7-4. He might be the next Shergar and win by 10 lengths, but I do have my doubts, I must admit. The one I like personally, it's not particularly original, is Stone Age of Aidan O'Brien.
Right.
I think he's got a good draw. Ryan Moore's on, obviously. I'd want at least 5-1. I think he's 4-1, 9-2 for looking. I think he's a straightforward galloper. He'll go with cutting the ground. He'll definitely stay. I think he'll be in the first 3 throughout. I think they're going to ride him forwards. And I don't think he'll be stopping. He'll carry on galloping. I don't think he's a top class explosive turn of foot dancing brave type. I think he's a galloping grinder who's going to keep on pulling, and Moore will be positive on him, and I think he'll take an awful lot of passing. There's been money for some funny ones, Ed, hasn't there, in the last few days? Pisbadil, I don't
Yeah.
think that one's form at Lepstan amounts to a great deal. And the other one I had a slight negative on, Nation's Pride. Charlie Appleby knows the time of day. He's got a million horses. They let him go off 2-1 nearly for a 4-runner listed race at Newmarket not that long ago. I mean, he won by miles, but I think there was more to do with the others stopping than him being another superstar. I'd be slightly surprised. It seems all a bit of an afterthought with him. I don't think 7-1's any bargain for him. But no, I thought Stone Age is pretty solid and almost certain to give his running, hopefully, out of trouble up the front. But what did you like? It's a difficult race, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting points you raised there. Yeah, Stone Age, Stephen selection. The others you mentioned, yeah, Pisbadil, obviously, since Frankie Dettori was decked up next to him, if you see what I'm saying. The announcement came out, Frankie Dettori would ride Donica O'Brien's colt. Unsurprisingly, the horse has contracted in the market, although at the time of recording is slightly back out on the drift again now. Maybe that's just the market correcting itself, as you would say. The Godolphin horses, Nation's Pride, was supplemented for this. As you say, that kind of goes into the little bit of the afterthought category with this horse. I think it surprised Charlie Appleby by the manner in which he won last time out. As you say, it wasn't like a kind of 1-3 shot in that listed event. Was a weak 7-4 poke in the end, but fairly romped home. So it's a tricky old race. I want to see Desert Crown just go out there and absolutely wipe the floor with him. I think it's quite good to see Sir Michael Stout back with a big timer, if you like. I remember Workforce breaking the track record in this, and to me, he feels like the last really good horse Sir Michael had. Forgive me if I've forgotten one in the last decade or so, but I was watching the interviews in the aftermath of Desert Crown winning the Dante, and of course he was making sure the connections Aidan O'Brien were in earshot, and he was giving it the big large kind of, this horse is brilliant, he's going to go to the Derby, you won't see which way he goes. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant, and it'd be great for Richard Kingscote, as you say, a world of difference from running around Haydock for Tom Dascombe, in greatest respect. Sully Bean going down the post on a Derby favourite for Sir Michael Stout. And Richard Kingscote, not a million miles away originally from my neck of the woods, Western Supermare. Yeah, hoping he does really well on that one. But sentiment aside, I'm struggling, to be honest with you, Stephen. I've had two small each way bets at big prices. One of them was on what I suppose you would call the Godolphin second string, Walk of Stars, with James Doyle on board for Charlie Appleby. This horse was sent off favourite to win the Lingfield Derby trial. Just everything pretty much went wrong, I thought, even though it was in a small field. Looked a bit quirky, but I just think underperformed on the day. I think there'll be a lot more to come here previously to that. A look progressive and a look to sort I thought would thrive over a mile and a half, a bit of cut in the ground. So I'm going to have a small wager on Walk of Stars, but the absolute joker in the pack here I've gone for is horse number 17 on your cards. The Crisford team and Jack Mitchell team up with West Wind Blows. Individuals like your aforementioned Desert Crown is 2 from 2. Obviously, this is a much lower level, but won nicely on debut and then absolutely bolted up at Nottingham last time out in a novice event. Won by 5 lengths, going further clear over 10 furlongs, giving away a £7 penalty to two well-regarded types, I think it's fair to say, from the Godolphin team there. I think it was Franz Strauss was at a fairly short price, and there was the Sir Michael Stout horse chimed well beaten in behind as well. So I think there was some pretty useful yardsticks for a Nottingham novice in behind there, and he absolutely ran them ragged. So look, in a race where it's kind of you're with or against the jolly, I'd love to see the favourite win, but I do take Stephen's point at 7-4. You only got to get the gap close at the wrong time in a 70 runner race at Epsom, and your form but goes out the window to a large extent, doesn't it? Desert Crown does touch 3-1. I'm getting involved is the bottom line, but I will be West Wind Blows and Walk of Stars. I think they're 40s and 18s respectively, two each way pokes for a bit of fun on the big one. Right, very quickly on the rest of the card in the 5:15. I quite like Midnight's Legacy. I'll touch upon that one a bit more in a minute. In the finale, the Get Out of Jail Stakes 10-6. Everyone's scraping around looking for who's serving mineral water on a hot day at Epsom. Who's going to win this one though, Stephen? Any input on the 5:50?
Well, I quite like Zargun here. Scott Dixon, a trainer who's had a winner in the last week or so. He had excuses last time out when he was sixth at Haydock, but his previous second at York was a really good run, and he's got plenty of form on soft ground if it's testing. I mean, this race will be going off about 6:45, Ed, won't it? Imagine how late they're going to be running. Huge fields, massive crowds. Yeah. It's going to be a long... I mean, I think Zargun, he's got a draw in 10, not too bad. I think he's a big runner. Sometimes the draw doesn't matter at all at Epsom, and they fan out all over the track, but often they come this side if the ground's got soft, but we're in the dark. I thought Zargan, he's around 12 or 14-1, was a token selection. If you're in trouble at 10-6 on Derby Day at Epsom, this looks like one of the worst getting out races I've ever seen. Just to come back to the Derby for a second, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing will be very interesting, I always say this about the Aidan O'Brien runners and all the runners in Ireland. This Derby market, anti-post betting doesn't exist anymore, really. So it's a largely untested market. You might find that horses like Stone Age are absolute stable nap, or they're just not held in great regard. They're all much of a muchness. But the market as we see it now, which is about 15-8, 4, 7 twice and 12, that could end up looking, if there's confidence behind Stone Age and one or two of the other Irish Raiders, the favourite's liable to be 5-2, 3-1, week and week. But if they don't want to come out to play the heavy guns, the big players connected to the Aidan O'Brien stable, then the favourite could shorten. It could be 7-4, 13-8. So it's an absolutely fascinating betting market that's largely untested, as I say, because anti-post betting is completely illiquid. It doesn't exist at all, hardly, on the exchanges, and nobody can get a sixpence on with the firms in general. So it'll be fascinating to see how the market pans out on the day.
Yeah, it will be indeed. As you say, so many unexposed types in here. Kind of market confidence late doors. Could be as good a pointer as any. Right, we've done the chat. Now it's time to nail the colours to the mast with our best bets for Derby Day. Right, and what we're doing for our best bets section this time around, we're going to nominate a best bet, a value angle, and then a left of field long shot. Right, Stephen, you could kick us off for your nap on Derby Day at Epsom. Where are we going? Who are we going with?
Well, we'll soon know our fate at 2 o'clock Epsom. Mr. Big Stuff. He's only about 5-1 now, but I'll be hoping for 6 or 7 tomorrow for looking around, certainly on the exchanges. He was desperately unlucky at Newbury in a race that I think is very strong form. The boy takes over, Tyler Hurd, taking off £5. He won't mind if it rains. In fact, I'd probably want a bit of rain for him because it'll be a big negative for 3/4 of this field who I don't think are guaranteed to handle it. And if he sees any luck in running, I'm hoping he's dropped right out the TV and they go for home too soon and he swoops through late. He's a potentially very nice horse to follow this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Big Stuff, you. I'm with Modern News for the doubters, the uneasy Modern News who's on the drift. I'm gonna stick with him. Right, for the value angle, if you like, something for a bit of each way price. Where are we going then, Stephen?
Another easy race, 3:45. The dash, 59 seconds of agony when you don't see any daylight at all. King of Stars for me. I'm going to put him up, win only for this purposes. If you've got a bookie, he'll offer you 6 or 7 places, play each way, but obviously that's not available to most people these days. I thought King of Stars, he's slipped down the weights. He's run better than it looks, showing loads of pace. Hopefully they'll ride him a bit quieter, let them all get on with it. Fine wine and about 6 other front runners cutting each other's throats. Maybe he'll squeeze through late under Alistair Rawlinson.
Yeah, you'd be drinking fine wine if that plan comes together with King of Stars, won't you? Yeah, King of Stars, 11-1 for Stephen there. I'm with Midnight's Legacy in the 5:15. Won the race last year, only £3 higher. Will Buick in the saddle for the Alan King team, who are absolutely on fire. Unbelievable. I think they've been operating around a 35% strike rate for the last month. I saw an interview with Alan King on telly a couple of days ago. It was quite funny, really. He was discussing his summer jumpers, his team for Epsom, and who we might have in for Royal Ascot as well. Unbelievable trainer, really. Shows no signs of slowing down as Alan King. Both codes, fires in Royal Ascot winners, Cheltenham winners, big winners you like. So, yeah, Midnight's Legacy for me, the 5-year-old horse to get the job done at 13-2. Right now, we're really going left of field here. Our Derby Day long shot, Steve, and who have you got for the one at a big price?
Well, I've gone to the 235. It is not a long shot in your standards, Ed, of
Right,
long shots.
okay.
She is 7-1. Hopefully, you'll get 10-1 on the exchanges. I like Tom Ward as a trainer. She impressed me. She only won narrowly at Kempton last time, but as I say, she came up the inside, having taken quite a keen grip and showed a good attitude. I think she'll handle good to soft. I don't think she'd want it any deeper because she is quite a free-going filly, but hopefully she'll go really close in a very trappy race.
Yeah, absolutely. Roman missed 7-1. As I mentioned earlier, I've just got a feeling this West Wind Blows could be something special. I mean, he could plausibly be totally out of his depth at this level, but he was saying he was given half a stone to some well-regarded sorts in Nottingham last time out and just absolutely ran them ragged. Be interesting if he can get on the front end under Jack Mitchell. I just think he looks a resolute galloper, especially if they get a bit of rain arrive as well. I think that would play into his hands, but who knows? He's a 33-1 poke. I'm hoping for a good run. Right, before we go, Stephen, what have you got planned? Are you watching on telly? Is the barbecue out? Are you disappearing off to a summer jumps meeting? I mean, we're kind of going about 7-4 each of 3 of these eventualities happening here with the Harris household. What are you doing? How are you playing your weekend?
No, I'm being absolutely chained. I'm going to watch the Derby on television all day. I think there's a bit of jumps racing as well, and we have actually got a street party on Sunday for the Queen, and the forecast is absolutely diabolical. I can just see it's going to be sort of 50 odd people trampling through the house, isn't it? It's going to be a pandemic. As soon as there's a bank holiday in this country, it pours with rain. The forecast on Sunday is absolutely diabolical. So no, I'm looking forward to the Derby. I don't think it's a great shape for punters, but yeah, mainly looking at the jumps probably on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, as I say, we are going to have an inverted commas street party out on the local green, which has actually been canned in advance due to the weather forecast. The clerk of the course has decided to draw ball stumps for that one. So yeah, no, the Jubilee party officially has been knocked on the head. So yeah, no, I'm going to be watching the Derby on telly. It's actually neighbours throwing up some paella party, so I'm intrigued as to what that entails. So we'll be probably hiding undercover under a poncho, eating paella in very kind of Spanish seasonal weather as the patio gets flooded. I think it'll be something like that, it's fair to say. But no, my thanks to Stephen, as always, for his input. Of course, don't forget to check out all his tips on bettingexpert.com. Don't forget to check out all the latest news and features on irishracing.com as well. Thank you very much for watching. Whatever you're backing on Derby Day, please do gamble responsibly. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the Jubilee weekend. We'll do it all again next week. Bye for now.